noting that. Good. Just like right now, it just popped on my screen. Closed caption is available and can be activated by clicking the CC button on the bottom of the screen. And now I'm excited to welcome a three-time alumni of The Ohio State University and College of Pharmacy, 1976 and 2003 graduate, and wine sommelier, Jerry Siegel. Jerry is a pharmacist and former senior director of pharmacy for The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center and assistant dean for the College of Pharmacy. He is still a clinical associate professor for the College of Pharmacy. His interest in wine predates his 40-year pharmacy career. While in college, he studied French wines and visited California wine country back in 1968. He studied with the American Wine School and holds a level 3 advanced certification from the Wine and Spirits Trust from London, England. He owns and operates WineScripts LLC as an education and event business for over 20 years. He has conducted hundreds of wine tastings, has worked with the Westerville Symphony over the past 10 years, and brings a very unique twist on wine pairings, focusing on pairing wine varietals to classical music. The wine and music pairings concept have also been a featured event at the Nantucket Food and Wine event. Since the pandemic almost 4 years ago, Dr. Siegel has to conduct wine tasting events via virtual platforms due to the pandemic. This unique experience will be featured in tonight's event, so sit back and relax and enjoy. Now let's drink some wine. And Jerry, it is all yours. Thank you.
All right, I'm off mute, and now all I have to do is share my screen and see if that'll work. Okay, it looks like it's working. All right, so everybody should be able to see my slides and my Crocodile Dundee outfit. And Doc joined me with his Crocodile Dundee hat as well. But we're going to take a look at the wines from down under, including New Zealand and across Australia. And I recently visited Australia for the FIP meeting, the International Pharmacy Federation. And if you want to join a really cool organization, do that, because you get to travel everywhere. Our next event is in Cape Town, South Africa. So if I do this again next year, if I'm lucky enough to, I bet you that it's going to be South African wines. So there's some great ones there. So I'm going to move ahead and see if I can get this to advance. That's always tricky, right? There we go. So in Australia and New Zealand both, there are many different varieties of wine, but not necessarily the ones we're used to in the United States. And also they taste a little different just because of the climate changes and how different they are. But we're going to start off this evening in New Zealand. If any of you ever have a chance to go there, highly recommend it. It's just a magical land. And there's even little islands that do nothing. I found a little island called Waiheke Island, and everybody on there is retired and grows wine. That's all they do. So I wanted to stay, but I wasn't able to. Also, when you're there, you get to visit koala bears, which are not indigenous to the US, and they actually are forbidding people from touching or holding them most everywhere, except for this one reserve I was at. And I'm not going to tell you online exactly why, but they're dying off from the disease. And so you have to be very careful about cleaning up to make sure that you don't infect the koala bears. Kangaroos are beloved in Australia, except by Australians who consider them a major pest. There are more kangaroos, twice as many kangaroos as there are people in Australia. And so they pop up everywhere. They cross the road like our deer do. And if you go up to them and think that you're just going to shake their hand, they're probably going to kick you in an uncomfortable place. So the people there don't really love kangaroos. And I can tell you one thing, I've eaten kangaroo and I really don't love the taste of kangaroo. It is probably the gamiest food that you could have. So we're going to avoid that. But I do want to look at the Australian wine regions from New South Wales, which is near Sydney. I actually picked up a Pinot Noir from Tasmania, and they have great cheeses there also. And then we're going to cross over to Victoria. South Australia is where Barossa and Adelaide are, and that's the big Shiraz and Cabernet regions. And then Western Australia, really big on Rieslings there as you move. But the further south you are, the cooler it is. The further north you are, the hotter it is. So you really don't see wine in the northern regions of Australia because you're getting closer to the equator and it's really hot there. The wine regions of New Zealand, of course, you've got the two islands, and the biggest region is probably the Marlborough region, where the New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is famous for. But there's a little area I wanted to point out called Otago, and they've really come up with some really, really nice Pinot Noirs there because it's so far south. It's comfortable for the Pinot grapes to grow and not burn out. So a couple little trivia things I wanted to start off with was things you have difficult pairing with. And this is a food and wine. I don't know how many of you made the foods on my menus. They're fairly complicated, and I'm going to show you how you can cheat on those as well. But these were intended to match with Australian wines. But some things that are horribly hard to match are artichokes. Chocolate actually is hard to match. Port wines will stand up to it. In Germany, they do have some wines that'll match even their red cabbage and so forth. I find hummus to be one of the biggest challenges because it coats your palate. And without a palate, you can't taste anything. So it's a texture thing. And I actually made here, instead of miso marinated black cod, I made a miso marinated mahi mahi. And so you guys can try that and see. The challenge with anything with that much umami is it sometimes makes the wine bitter. And so it'll clash with tannins. Let's take a look at the top 5 food and wine pairings that are challenging. Ripe tomatoes can be bad unless you have rosé because of its acidity. Vinaigrette dressing, I always said, what do you match with salads? Well, if you have vinaigrette dressing, about the only thing you can use is brut champagne. Wedding cake, because of its sweetness, is hard to match, but a demi-sec champagne will work. And then mushrooms, I have a whole chart I'm not going to get into now. Depends on what kind of mushrooms and so forth, but they have the highest amount of umami, and they make it difficult sometimes to match with wine. And my number one hardest thing to match, and people get it all the time, is asparagus. An asparagus matched with wine makes everything taste kind of vegetal. But we actually have, I didn't serve asparagus here, but I do have what I'd call unoaked Chardonnay, but in Australia they call it unwooded because sometimes they don't put things in barrels, they just throw the wood in the wine barrel. And so it's either wooded or unwooded, and I do have an unwooded Chardonnay tonight. And then a couple trivia things real quickly is Australia has about 160,000 hectares on the vine. Their wine production is 14 million hectoliters, and California is more wines under acreage, about the same wine production. But the difference is the annual wine consumption per capita, where California is 7.8 liters per capita. Australia, it's 20.5. So they really do like their wine there. They like beer too, but they like their wine. And their number one grape is still Sauvignon Blanc, even in Australia. So we're going to start off. And I have residents here from the master's program at Ohio State. And they're in the live portion. And one of the things they're going to be doing is they have blind tasting. And so there's so many Sauvignon Blancs that when I went to Trader Joe's, they had like 10 different Sauvignon Blancs. I couldn't even imagine why. But what I did is I picked Oyster Bay, which is probably the most common and least expensive, to Cloudy Bay, which is the most expensive Sauvignon Blanc. And so we're going to see if anybody really can tell the difference on those. But either way, the characteristic of a New Zealand Sauv Blanc is like grapefruit. It's really tight, very acidic, and so forth. And for some people, that's way too acidic, and they'd rather have the California style, which is a little more grassy. But New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, if you don't smell the grapefruit and it is not acidic as can be, you don't have New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So here's the pairing. And I want you to start out. Now, I know all of you didn't go out and buy all the wines. So some of you may only have Oyster Bay, some may have Cloudy Bay, and some may have both. But now the big question is, in your left hand you have one, and in your right hand you have the other, and I don't know which one you have. So what I want you to do is tell me raise the hand of the one you like better. Okay. Left, you're right, left. So we have your left, okay. You're right. Okay. All right, Michael. I don't know which ones you did, so tell me who won this wine pairing.
Oyster Bay one.
What?
Oyster Bay one.
Oyster Bay one.
That's
Okay.
left hand for everyone.
Well, that's interesting because that's good because Oyster Bay is $8.88. Right up a residence alley, right? And Cloudy Bay runs between 28 and 32. Now, it'd be interesting comment wise, why so much the Oyster Bay? It's pretty fresh. I have it here as well.
Yeah. This one's the right, almost has like an olive oil undertone to it, like that's.
Which one?
The right.
The right one, the Cloudy Bay.
The more buttery.
Oh, that says Cloudy Bay has some oak. And anytime you have oak, you're gonna have a buttery and a bigger taste, and it's not as acidic as Oyster Bay.
The acidic is like when your mouth gets salivating, like grapefruit, like something like grapefruit.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. So that means that you don't have to go out and always buy the most expensive wine. Excellent. All right, well, let's see if we can get the next wine that we were going to look at is from Ulumba, the wine series Unwooded Chardonnay. Okay, now the food pairings that I have, I'm going to show you the food that I have here. I have to put the camera around and see if you can see it, because these are all the pairings that I brought. Let's see if we can do this. I don't know how to flip my camera around, but that do anything or not? There's everybody. Okay, so we do have some salmon on creme fraiche with salmon caviar. One of the things they have there is kind of crazy. They're called fried crab sticks. So I know KRAB, and I know a lot of you know these, but they actually deep fry them, and they have those instead of French fries. And then, of course, some cocktail shrimp. But the homemade, I didn't make it quite authentic because they pour the sauce all over the top of it, and you don't have a choice whether you want to dip or not. I gave these folks, and then some goat cheese. Goat cheese, probably the best cheese to have with Sauv Blanc because it is salty. And then I have some roll-ups as well. All right, you guys still with me? Okay, we're now walking over, and you have to have shrimp on the Barbie. So we have shrimp on the Barbie, and then this is the miso marinated mahi, which takes about 3 days to make. So you have to know me well in advance, and a homemade remoulade sauce to go with the shrimp. Everything here, Bill, everything here is gluten-free. All right, now I'm coming back.
We're not wine tasting.
What's that?
You're not wine tasting.
No. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm doing the. Yeah, you can then yeah, taste each of those, and then we're going to follow that up with the Pinot Noir. But Pinot Noir also in New Zealand, the Otago region is most famous, but even Marlborough has a Pinot Noir. Plug in my microphone again. Make sure you guys can hear me. Okay. All right, I think this should be better sound-wise. Aaron, put your thumb up if you can hear me good. Great, all right, we're good. So Pinot Noir from Marlborough is going to be pretty light, but energetic. And I said some fruity, light, toasty notes, and kind of a lingering finish. Matua Pinot Noir is very inexpensive. I usually think that any Pinot Noir under $50 is not worth the while, but this one's more like 15. And so it really is pretty good. So we're going to taste that after we do the whites. And I need
What do you want?
Semi
Semi on the bottom.
put the semi on here. I need to dump it.
You want to dump?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just a warning to everybody. I warned everybody on wine tasting. This is a wine tasting, not a wine drinking event. And so if you're home and you don't plan on going anywhere, feel free to drink as much wine as you want. But if you do have to drive, it's perfectly acceptable to taste and swirl and spit it out. We do that all the time. It's not a big deal. All right. So that's the Pinot Noir from New Zealand. And I said all of those foods, the match. Pinot Noir is one of my favorite matches for sushi. And so we do have, is the sushi out there somewhere? Yeah. I just got some regular sushi that is spicy tuna roll. And so next time you think about it, Pinot Noir is a really good match for spicy sushi. And people don't think about red wines too much when they do that. Okay, I'm going to move on. Well, actually, let me take a break. I'm going to go back. Let me take a break real quick and see if anybody has any questions so far. I'm not sure in this mode I can see the chat. So I'll ask.
There's nothing in the chat yet.
Nothing in the chat yet. So if you have questions, you can do that. But let's go ahead and go back and take a look at the at these wines. So Australian Chardonnay, I said this one is called Unwooded Chardonnay, and it comes from Southeast Australia, kind of in the Marlborough area, more or less. And they don't try to have an oak influence as we do in the United States. In the United States and California in particular, they use a lot of barrels and they're looking for that buttery, toasty flavor. And Australia, they're not. They're really looking for some fresh complexity, but they use 100% wild yeast fermentation. So this is about as natural of a Chardonnay as you can have. It's very clean looking. And because it doesn't have the oak, it matches actually with food a little bit better. Another wine in this pairing is one of my favorite wineries is called Broken Wood, and that's in the Hunter region north of Sydney. So if you ever go to Sydney and you said, well, I don't have time to go out, 2 or 3 hours to a winery, just go to the Hunter Valley region. And Semillon is a grape that normally will pair with Sauvignon Blanc to make white Bordeaux. It adds some body to it and certainly some length. And white Bordeaux's can hang around for 20, 30 years, where Sauvignon Blancs, you want them fresh. You want to have them this season's Sauvignon Blanc is what you're looking for, not old Sauvignon Blanc. It gets flat and flabby once it loses its acidity. But Semillon, like I said, it's very different. It's more, like I said, I described it as green apple skins, acacia, lemon drops. It's pretty acidic and very different. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. I'll ask my group over here. Have you had Semillon before?
No.
No? What do you think of it?
Good.
Fan of that? Yeah, it's pretty different. So if you don't want Chardonnay all the time and you don't really want Sauvignon Blanc, there's 2 grapes I recommend. One is Semillon and the other is Viognier. Viognier is from Northern Rhone, but they do grow it in Australia. And it's okay. It's pretty good. It's a substitute, but I prefer Semillon over the Viognier myself. But once again, this was one of the more expensive wines on our list tonight. It's about $20. I tried to keep everything reasonable. because you don't have to drink $100 wines every night, just every other night. So if you had a chance to get this, they do sell it. All the wines I picked were from Whole Foods, except for the Boxer, which is not carried there, and it is carried in Columbus at Carfagna's, but you can also get it at wine.com or most fine wine shops because it's a finer wine. But yeah, I hope you had a chance to get this because it's quite different, and I think it pairs pretty well. The reason I made it was with the cod, because the mahi-mahi, I'm sorry, because it's a very different flavor. What do you think? Did you guys have a chance to try the fish? It's over here, yeah. Yeah, you want to try that. It's very different. One of the harder things I made today. I'm sending them over for more food. Okay. How am I doing time? With 7:30? All right, let's move ahead. We talked about the Pinot. And when you're done with one of your whites, then Vin will pour some of the Pinot for you because it goes with the same food pairings. But while they're doing that, I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit. When most people think of Australia, they only think really of one grape, and that's Shiraz. Well, the grape is not Shiraz, it's actually a Syrah grape. And technically, Syrah and Shiraz are the exact same grape. The difference is the two stems come from regional climate-driven styles. And so the cooler climates in Syrah from France is going to be a cooler climate, and it's a lighter, it's a little more astringent, whereas the warm weather Shiraz is going to be a bigger, bolder. It's 16% alcohol, so it'll knock you off your butt if you don't watch out. But the Shiraz there is a little different. I think it's just a mispronunciation of Syrah. Nobody actually knows the exact reason why Syrah is called Shiraz in Australia, but they are the same. I didn't do a pairing tonight where I should have done a blind tasting of regular Syrah versus Australian Syrah, but the Syrahs I like from France are very expensive. And so I didn't want to add another $100 to the tasting. So we're going to do that. You're doing the Pinot? Okay. I need this one.
Dump this.
Yeah, I'm going to put the Pinot there. Thank you. It's great to have help. So one of the things about our residency is wonderful is I have brand new residents in the first year and second year class from our MS program. Vin Tormo was from our 83 class, and Mike Gagno from 03. So that's quite a spread. And then Tricia, of course, is 01. Yeah.
Number one.
01, yeah. And I started at the hospital, I think in 1969, but I actually became familiar with wine and was already studying wine in 1968. So my medical career and my wine career have similar pathways. Okay. Is there a question in the chat, or is that just I see something there.
There is.
Okay.
Julie's asking, we taste sulfates in the Y Chardonnay. Is that expected?
Well, almost all wines have some type of sulfate. And it comes from naturally, and you can add it as a preservative. But one of the things we're going to show you later is the higher the sulfate content, the higher most likely that you might get headaches or flushing. But one of the wines that we're going to be tasting later from Molly Duker is it uses nitrogen now for their preservative. And they have a very low minimal sulfate contained. And so they use nitrogen. I'm going to show you that. And it's very different, but you have to get rid of the nitrogen before you drink it. So there's a unique way of doing that as well. Okay. Thank you for that question. All right, so the first Shiraz that we're going to taste is from D'Arenberg Winery, and that's near Adelaide. And the wine starts out with a deep ruby color and a big nose of cherry and blackberry. And what sets this Shiraz apart is it's ripe fruit. What I think sets it apart is the fact that the property that's on is almost like an artist colony. So hopefully I added some pictures here. It's also a little lower in alcohol content at 13%, where some of them get up to like 15 to 16%. So this one's called the Stump Jump. Let me see if I got my pictures in here. No, that's Molly Duker. All right, well, let me see if I can find that.
So the Pinot will be the color between the one.
Yeah, there's lots of Picasso art and Dali art in particular at that winery. I think we're a little early because the winemaker from Molly Duker, winemaker part and co-owner is Luke Marquis, and he's going to be joining us from Australia. It'll be.
I'm here, Jerry. I've been here the whole time.
Oh, you're on. Okay. Hi, Luke. How are you?
I'm here.
Perfect timing. Yeah. Yeah, this is Luke, and he's going to talk to us about Molly Duker, which is left-handed, and I have the Boxer Shiraz, which is nitrogen preserved, and it has black cherries, fresh plum, and so forth. So before you guys open that, you want to hand me a bottle of the Boxer? The Boxer, right there.
Boxer?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
I can go through the shake with them, Jerry, if you want me to.
Yeah, why don't you do that? That would be great.
Awesome. You want me to just kick off? How you doing, everybody? Everybody good?
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I've been looking at Kristen Lamberjacks and Lee Fritz's like camera. Lee, I want to be in your room. Look how many wines you got. Sheesh, I want to be partying with you guys. That looks awesome. Well, lovely to meet you all. As Jerry just kind of introduced me, my name is Luke Marquis, part of the family here at Molly Duker Wines. Who's had Molly Duker before? If you don't have your camera on, comment if you've had. Who's had Molly Duker? Anybody had Molly Duker before? All right, well, I can't see the whole screen, so I can't see everybody at the same time. So Molly Duker are an Australian wine company. I was actually looking at Darrenberg, the Stump Jump. They are our next door neighbour. I could throw a rock and hit their winery. It's a bummer that Jerry didn't get the photos up. They have this magnificent 4-story Rubik's Cube on their property. It's actually spinning. And it is a Chester Osborne, who is the owner of Darrenberg, is phenomenal, creative genius, and has a lot of fun with his labels and everything that he does. A few little fun facts that I saw from Jerry that I want to reiterate. So yes, we have 2 kangaroos to every human in Australia. There's about 50 million kangaroos in Australia, and there's only 25 million people. Another fun fact about New Zealand is that there's about 6 times the amount of sheep to humans. So there's about 30 million sheep in New Zealand, and there's only 5 million people. So we're definitely overpopulated on the animal side. Yalumba, who you had before, little fun fact, they actually started in 1847. They're the 2nd oldest winery here in Australia. Amazing family-run company. Love what they do. So glad that they've been a part of the tasting. Jerry noted, put some shrimp on the barbie. In Australia, for you Americans, we actually don't call it shrimp. We call them prawns. All right. So that whole put shrimp on the barbie, that is a marketing ploy. Nobody ever says that in Australia. And the same thing is we don't drink Foster's. That's actually brewed in Austin, Texas. So again, another marketing ploy. There's no Foster's in Australia. And then some fun facts about kangaroos is that 95% of kangaroos are actually left-handed. I'll tell you why that is an important thing for us as a company. Everyone's like, how do you know that they're left-handed? So they did a huge study on what hand they use as their dominant hand to pick up, to scratch, to do everything, and 95% of them are left-handed. And kangaroos can hop as far as 45 feet. between each hop. So most of them about 25 feet, but they can hop up to 45 feet. So Molly Duca, we started 17 years ago. Molly Duca, the word, is an Australian slang word for a left-handed person. Who here is left-handed? Anybody left-handed? Comment in the chat if you are left-handed, Jerry. So the reason why we're called Molly Duca is because my parents, Sarah and Sparky Marquis, who started the business, they're both left-handed. When we started our business, we had 11 full-time employees. Of that 11, 7 of them were left-handed. So Brian is a lefty. Fantastic, Michelle. But the craziest thing is that my mum, my dad, my sister, and my grandparents are all left-handed, and I'm unfortunately the only right-hander in my family, and I don't know why, what happened. I would say because it's 2024, I identify as being left-handed, all right, just so I can fit in with my family. So there's a couple photos going on. Has everybody got the bottle of Boxer? Can everyone pick up that bottle of Boxer? Can everyone pick up that bottle if you've got it with you? So if you actually look at the bottle really closely, if you look at the bottle, he's actually got 2 left-handed gloves. All right. So if you actually look on the label, can everyone, because I can't see, can anybody comment who's actually got the bottle with them? Can anybody comment that who's got the bottle with them on the chat so that I know who, because you can't see every. Looks like it's just Jerry and myself.
Yeah, you can raise your hands if you have it.
Looks like Gretchen Weaver has one. And a couple people have their cameras off, so I can't tell. There's a couple people that have it. Kayla
Kayla?
Golden has it.
Okay, perfect.
Hopefully more.
So
after.
Kayla, if you can look at the bottle, can you see that he's actually
Lee has it.
Yeah. So as Jerry was talking about sulfites and nitrogen, so we do something very unique with all of our wines is that we preserve all of our wines with nitrogen to reduce the amount of sulfur that we have to use in our winery, and also to preserve the color, flavor, and fruit integrity of the wine to its optimal level. All right. But who here likes Guinness? Does anybody like Guinness? I love Guinness. But Guinness is also preserved with not Kayla, your husband or your partner or friend or whatever. He's like, I do. Yep, I like Guinness. But Guinness is also preserved with nitrogen. All right. If you actually got a can of Guinness, and cut the can open, if you cut the can open and pour it into a glass, it tastes different than if you were to open it normally and pour it out, because when you open it normally, it activates the widget. So the widget is the ball inside the bottle in the can. When you pour it out, the widget moves around in the can, so it agitates the nitrogen, so the beer becomes creamier, rounder, and smoother. So we do the exact same science with Molly Duca, but we have no widget. So how do we get the nitrogen out of the wine? All right. So we explain at Molly Duca and also Guinness, we explain a flavor compound like a big round ball. All right. And I hope you can see this, everybody. When you add nitrogen to the wine, it actually flattens the back end of the ball. So the wine or the beer becomes closed, constricted, or muted. So we need to do something called the Molly Duca shake. And that is the best way to prepare your wine. So what I need everybody to do is you got 2 glasses. Has everyone got 2? Whoever's got the bottle of Molly Duca, make sure you get 2 glasses, yours and somebody else's, and put them side by side. Okay. Now grab your bottle of Molly Duca and open it. So we use all stove and screw cap. So I want you to open the bottle. Now, in one of the glasses, let's go the glass on your right, okay? The glass on your right, what I want you to do is pour about 2 ounces into the first glass, so it goes halfway down the shoulder of the bottle, all right? Pour about 2 ounces into the first glass. Now, with the Molly Duca shake, Kayla, what's the most important part of the routine? What do you reckon? With the Molly Duca shake, anybody can answer. What's the most important part of the routine? Put the cap back on. Right? Put the cap back on. It's a really important part. Okay. I cannot put more emphasis on this at all. Okay. Kayla's losing it over there. So turn the bottle upside down. Okay. And if everyone can see me, turn the bottle upside down. And now I need you to shake it like a cocktail for about 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, shake it. Give it a good shake for about 5 to 10 seconds. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. All right. Now, what I need you to do is turn the bottle up, and can you see all those bubbles? You see the bubbles? That's the nitrogen escaping from the wine, exactly like Guinness. Now open it. It doesn't spray anywhere because it's nitrogen. It doesn't spray. Now put it close to your ear. Everyone that's got a bottle, put it close to your ear. You can actually hear the bubbles. It sounds like Rice Krispies. All right. Now close it again. Turn it upside down and shake it one more time. Go on, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Awesome. And now the wine is ready to drink. But perfect. So now in the other glass that's side by side, now what I want you to do is pour another 2 ounces in the second glass. What's incredible, it's an amazing science experiment when you actually look at the chemistry reaction that it does. What I want you to do is smell and taste the glass on your right, the pre-shaken, so smell and taste. And then smell and taste the one on your left. And you can actually see the aroma of it jumps. And then on the palate, it becomes creamier, rounder, and smoother. It is so interesting to see side by side. So for those of you who've got the bottle, all right, now, Kayla, I want you to do this with me. So put the lid back on, Kayla, all right? Now on the back of the label, can you look at the back of the label? There is these very special perforated tear-off tabs. You see that? You see that tab? Yep, so tear that tab off. That allows you to remember what wine you drank. But Kayla, I need you to copy me, okay? You feeling fun, Kayla? All right, now I need you to lick it. Lick the back of it. All right? Stick it on your forehead, okay? And then you become that bottle of wine for the rest of the day. Well done, Kayla. Awesome. So with Molly Duca, we make big, bold, juicy red wines. We love flavor. Everybody on this room, in this meeting, conversation today, we all love flavor. We want things that are rich, opulent, silky, delicate, balanced, but emphasize on flavor. So this wine is definitely a Shiraz. When Jerry talked about what's the difference between Shiraz and Syrah, Syrah is definitely more of a cool climate, more like whole bunch fermentation, more structure to it, whereas Shiraz is more generous, rich, opulent. This wine is sitting at 16% alcohol, but you can't taste it. A lot of people freak out at high alcohol in America. I live in the US. I run our global sales team, but a lot of people in America are like, oh my God, high alcohol. So, but if you can't taste it because it has got so much delicacy. We got high alcohol, high acid, high tannin, but this amazing flavor profile that encapsulates. Erin's taking a photo. Are you taking a photo of me, Erin? Cheese. So I'm not. There you go, Erin. Here you go. I'm not shy, okay? My mum is our chief winemaker. She's actually Wine Spectator has awarded her the best Shiraz producer in the world 3 times. We have a wine called Carnival of Love that has been awarded the best Shiraz in the world 3 times, as high as the 2nd best wine in the entire globe in 2014. We also have another. There's a photo of Jerry and my sister. Jerry, that's perfect. So my sister in the white top, we actually have a wine called the Giggle Pot, which is one of our premium Cabernets. And you can see it on so that was her when she was 8 years old. She's now 25 and she runs our tasting room. And you can see Jerry and her having a really fun time. And then we also have 14 wines that we make. And when the other wine that we have here, Jerry, you can talk about this a little bit later, but it's called Blue Eyed Boy. So that is named after myself. So we like to have a lot of fun. For those of Kayla and the team that did the Molly Duca Shake, how did you go? Turn out, can you see the difference? That's what's so cool. So many people talk to me, they're like, you shouldn't shake a bottle of wine. I'm like, who told you that? Who set the rules? It's 2024. There are no rules anymore. We like to challenge tradition. We're not better than it. There's amazing wines made all over the world that you're drinking today and you've drank in the past. But at the same time, we like to have fun so that when you drink Molly Duca moving forward with your friends, you're like, I got to show you something crazy. Because when you see the difference between the 2 glasses, that's the impact that you love to do. Different to decanting. Decanting is about aeration. The Molly Duca Shake is about agitation. Agitating the dissolved nitrogen out of the wine to open up the flavor. So, awesome. Jerry, is there anything else that you need me to add or any questions from anybody?
Well, the group here is very interested. They all had the unshaken first. not knowing any difference. That's what they did. And then we shook it up properly, and they tasted it afterwards and saw the big difference there. So that's important. And one of the things that I showed you, and I still do, is I was worried about what's going to happen to the unshaken wine. Do I pour it back in? And so I just use a milk frother, and that milk frother does a pretty good job of shaking. Outstanding job of shaking. And now we got the nitrogen out and more of a Starbucks effect to it.
There's a gentleman on Kristen Lamberjacks. He's like, oh my God, not a milk frother in a wine glass. No way.
I know. The thought of that is-
that unshaken glass is not wasted. Give it a really good stir. It does the same process, but by the time that you actually try the taste them, you pretty much consume that glass anyway. So that's the impact point. You can see the photos of that Jerry here. That's Velvet Glove is our flagship wine. We don't make it every single year. It's actually, we hand polish every single bottle before we sell it, so that there's no fingerprints, no scratches here. I've got one right in front of you, right in front of me. Actually, look, it comes in a beautiful velvet bag, and when you pull it out for the very first time, everybody a bottle is hand polished. The label is actually made of pure velvet. We have a lot of fun with it, that's for sure. Any other photos you got, Jerry?
I was going to bring my velvet glove here, but I thought for sure they'd make me open it. They haven't learned quite enough about wine to appreciate it yet, but it's just a fantastic Shiraz at its finest. And so
Michelle's got a great question. Percentage of wineries using nitrogen. So a lot of wineries use nitrogen in the bottling process. That is a very common practice. It is a great antioxidant. There aren't a lot of how long would it take for the unshaken Moliduca to get shaken? It's about 5 hours, Vin. 5 hours. Because if the wine gets over 5 years old, once the wine is over 5 years old, you don't need to do the Moliduca shake. So if you had a 2010, let's say, boxer, you wouldn't need to shake that because the nitrogen naturally escapes. Same in a glass, it takes about 5 hours to do the same process. And as Jerry said, we like drinking. We got, 20.5 liters per capita. When Australians want to drink, we don't want to wait 5 hours. We want to drink now. But yeah, percentage of other wineries, I wouldn't be able to answer that. A lot of people use nitrogen in the bottling process, but not a lot of people use it. We use it at every single step, from bottling, from barrel aging, from fermentation, from pump overs, from moving from tank to tank, everything.
Right. Luke, I can't thank you enough for joining us and what time is it for you in Australia?
Oh, it's 11:25 in the morning. So it's
11:25 a.m. Friday.
I'm drinking though. So cheers, everybody.
Yeah. So, half-hour time zones really throw you off there. But anyway, I can't thank you enough, and hopefully introduced Moliduca to a lot of new people. And like I said, I'm a proud wine club member, and I can't wait every month to get my new shipment, and then can share those as well. But thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I know that if anybody gets a chance to go to Australia, a visit to Moliduca is well worthwhile. So thanks again. And
no worries. Well, I'll get Jerry to send out my contact details to everybody. So if you have any further questions or looking for the wines, please get in contact. We sell in all 50 states across the US. As Jerry said, we do have a wine club in the United States, and do have a lot of different wines made from around the region. So enjoy the rest of your day. Keep drinking. Have an awesome night. And Lee, Fritz, hopefully I can come and drink with you one day, because that looks like an awesome, awesome place to be drinking.
That's great. Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, team.
Thank you enough for joining us this evening from Australia. Makes it so authentic. All righty.
Thanks, guys.
Round of applause. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I just wish I could share the food that I have here with everybody, because I did spend the past 2 days cooking, and we do have teriyaki pork tenderloin, and I don't know why. Maybe Luke, you can still answer this question. Why is chicken Parmesan so popular in Australia. It seems to be, and I did use an authentic Aussie style chicken Parmesan recipe from a restaurant in Manchester. But why is it so popular?
It's
I made
chicken parmigiana. It's a different version of chicken parmigiana, but it is the most consumed food in Australia. It's battered chicken, crumbs, deep fried. Then we put tomato sauce, ham, and then cheese. But it's big. It's like 600.
yeah,
It's, you know,
yeah. I
almost
have
half
a lot of that here.
it's
I
over.
wish
Yeah, it's over. It's about a pound big.
I
It's
thought it
huge.
came out pretty good.
But don't know why people just love it. Every single pub, every single restaurant in Australia
That's right.
serves
Yeah,
it.
and I kept seeing that, and I said, "Wow, you wouldn't think that." But it's an Australian version of it. It's not.
It's an Australian version of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I tried to be true to that. So the folks here are enjoying that, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next wine. But thanks so much. Like I said, I'm sure that the Boxer was the first Molly Duker wine that I ever had, and it was in Nashville. And my nephew actually introduced it to me because he knew how much I like wine, but I'd never heard of it before that. But that was probably 10 years ago. And now, of course, I'm familiar with all of them and very much love your wine. So we're going to move on. Yeah, another comment?
Well, one last thing before, yeah. So Boxer, as I said, we were actually with Robert Parker 2 weeks ago. For those of you who know who Bob Parker is, but when we released this wine, we actually got awarded the #1 valued red wine in the globe. That still stands to this day. So it's been a pretty awesome wine, a part of our portfolio. So I'm glad that your son introduced you back in Nashville all those years ago.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, thank you.
Team. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Good day.
Hey.
Good day. All right, everybody. I appreciate Luke tuning in from Adelaide and McLaren Vale. It's a fabulous place to visit. But now we're going to go a little further north to Barossa, to Canoga Hills. And Canoga is an area, and we're going to use a Cab Shiraz blend. So they do a lot of that. They'll take the Cabernet and Shiraz and blend it together. So hopefully you were able to get this. My visit to Penfolds was just incredible. They really treated me like royalty there, and I got to taste the best of the best wines they had, including the Grange. So the Grange is their top wine. It sells for, in the United States, for about $1,500 a bottle. I have several of them in my cellar, and one of the things that's unique there is there's such a Cadillac or Rolls-Royce service, and after about 15 years, they'll come to your house and replace the corks. So it's a cork replacement program. And you can call them and say, okay, my bottle's ready to be recorked. It's like retreading a tire because the corks will wear out. And some of these wines, they'll last for 50 to maybe even 100 years. I don't think I'm going to hit the 100-year mark, but I have some that are at least 25 to 30 years old now. And I'm looking forward to those if I don't get them recorked. This one is an interesting blend. It's a big red wine. And I want to make sure, Mike, we got all the foods going there. I think you're following things and things are going pretty well. But Penfolds is one of the oldest wineries. I showed you the old house here with the Penfolds smokestack in the back and their charming scripted label in front. And to give you an idea how much I like this place, I told them I was coming. I took 4 guests with me, and they made out special placemats for us, recognizing wine scripts. And we had this beautiful room and tasting room. And I said, really incredible wines. All the wines that are poured there are extremely expensive and very, very nice wines. Of course, I loved them, so I bought way too much wine and brought it back. On a tour through there, you can see the barrels and some of the barrel rooms and how pristine everything is. And then This is old open casket fermentation in concrete is how they did it in the old days and still do today. But the Grange Hermitage is their #1 wine. Here's an old bottle, 1964. It looks like the label was typed with a old, maybe IBM Selectric, but that bottle is worth just tens of thousands of dollars. And they have racks of those. So if you ever have a chance, once again, to go to Penfolds, it's really worthwhile. But I did pick something tonight that you can get at Whole Foods and some other places as well, called the Canoga Hills. And because it was a Cab Shiraz blend, but it's a pretty big wine. Let's see. You can dump this one. Yeah. I got too much wine going on here. So this is a little harder to do, to talk and make sure. But Mike Ganio and Vin and Tricia are doing a great job making sure the wines and foods are all coming out at the right time. Thank you. So if you can see this, this is a very, very dark Cabernet Shiraz combo. And has a really nice nose to it. Let's see. Yeah, you want to show that? Thank you. Going the wrong way. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so once again, it's kind of a red licorice. I don't know if you're familiar with fennel. Fennel is the anise root. It smells like licorice and black rose, but really big. I think this is more like a plum, dark cherry, blackberry wine. You guys had a chance to have what do you think? It's pretty. Now this one is not all that expensive. It's under $20, believe it or not. So it's probably one of the least expensive Penfold wines you can get, as opposed to the Grange, which is the most expensive. But they have quite a few. And what's interesting there is they number everything. So they have number 320, number this, number that, and the number has nothing to do with the price, but they can be pretty pricey, but it's just a fabulous place to visit.
Is the number the same year to year?
The number of that bin is the same year to year. It's the style in which it's made. So if it's a bin 307, next year it'll be bin 307 as well. Good question, Vin. All right. And then another cab that we're going to have is called Criterion. So this is pure cab, and Coonawarra region, which actually means wild honeysuckle. So if you want to, trivia wise, it's southeast of Adelaide and closer to Victoria in its region. And I like this particular wine because it shows it's pure Cabernetness, whatever it is, whatever word that is, but it's really true to its varietal. And so this one I thought might be hard to find, but it was also at Whole Foods. And then we're going to compare that to a wine that you can get anywhere. I swear you could buy this probably at Speedway gas station. So in Australia, they have private little wineries like Molly Duker. They also have large cooperatives, and the cooperatives are like every wine in the world gets thrown in there. So I can't really say it's a region, it's Australia, and they also make wines in the US as well, but it is an inexpensive red blend. You never pay more than $10 for this. I've seen it advertised for $20 and it says $20 on sale for $9.99. Well, if you don't buy it on sale for $9.99, shame on you. But remember, Australia was a penal colony. And so they're playing off of putting different old-time prisoners on the label. And it's called 19 Crimes. So this guy had 19 crimes or whatever. One of the crimes is the wine. To even sell this stuff. But I had to have it in the tasting because, like I said, you can find it anywhere. This is my equivalent to Mogan David. I'm being very sarcastic about this, but it may be your favorite wine. I don't know. I shouldn't be that critical, but it's always good to compare, right? So if you have you'll see 19 crimes, but pay attention because it could be from the US, it could be from Australia. But this one's a red blend. Now, the thing that's interesting when you get a wine that's called a red blend, they can throw anything in there. I assume there's Cab and Shiraz in there, but there could be anything else too, field grapes, you name it. But it's always should always be under $10. And then I wanted to show you, so if you have both, that's great. So you can compare one to the other because Criterion's not all that expensive. It's maybe $30. But when you're looking at Cabernets and Pinot, $30 is a decent price. When you get into the $2 chuck types of wines, those are big bulk grapes, and the bottle actually is more expensive than the wine. And so it's not wonderful wine, even though people think it is. I'm going to take you on a quick little tour here of Southeast Australia. And this is where I had breakfast, looking out over the ocean. And Australia is an island, remember? So there's a lot of coastline and a lot of ocean. And then I'm going to wrap up my formal presentation by taking you on a tour of my personal wine cellar. And you can see the entrance there. I actually made that door out of mahogany. It has like 20 layers of lacquer on it, but it's a mahogany door, and that enters into my wine cellar. As you go in, you can see on the left, I have all the top Wine Spectator top #1 wines, and then some of the better stuff. If you're very acute at this, you can see that I have a bottle of 23-year-old Pappy Van Winkle's bourbon. And it's in there just so I know where it is, because on the black market, that bottle's $2,500. But it's not by any means the most expensive wine in my cellar. So just kind of showing you around a little bit. I have a champagne section and a Bordeaux section and so forth. And then to finish up our trip to Australia, here's a picture. Whenever I go out of the country, I like to visit local pharmacies. And we go in and we tell them we're pharmacists, and they say, so what? But then they connect with it. So on the left is Ryan Forey, who's an MS graduate from Ohio State, but now he's the president of the hospital section of FIP. Neshamini Kasbaker, who's the president of ASHP currently, and me, just Buckeye looking for, but I found something there that was great. They actually had capsaicin there that I use for peripheral neuropathy, and it comes without a prescription. Because here, not only you have to have a prescription, it has to be applied by a physician. But in Australia, you can buy it over the counter. It's still expensive, but you can buy it. And then this picture is 3 of our past ASHP presidents, Marianne Ivey, who was at University of Cincinnati for a long time, and she's retired. Neshamini, who's current ASHP president, and Diane Ginsburg, my friend from Texas, who just was named the H.K. Whitney Award winner for this upcoming year. So they were all in Australia as well. And then finally, you can't have a photo without the Buckeyes, OHIO. And we were at the top of the tallest building in South Australia with Divya Varkey, Ryan Forey, Alex Varkey, who's an OSU MS grad from Children's Hospital, who's just going to become in March the APHA president. So we've got some pretty good celebrities there.
Ryan needs to work on his age.
What's that?
Ryan needs to work on
His age is not that good. All right. So I am done with my slideshow, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that we have. I got through that, Aaron. I got through that way faster than I expected, but I didn't actually get to stop and eat either, but I'll do that. One of the things that I had on my menu, I do want to mention, was Aussie meat pies. So I find this interesting. If you are in Poland, the most popular thing they have is called a pierogi. If you're thanks. If you're in, I'll hold that. If you're in South America, the most popular type of version of this is called a empanada. If you're up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, God knows why you would go to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, but they have something called, I did that for one of our residents, but it's called a pasty. And a pasty is kind of a meat pie that you put in your lunchbox. And in Australia, I don't know, you can see it. This is an Aussie meat pie. And the recipe that I sent out to everybody is like 3 pages long. And I looked at this and I said, oh my God, this is going to take me days to make. And then I went into one of my favorite stores, it's called Fresh Thyme. And Fresh Thyme actually has Aussie meat pies in their freezer section. And it takes 20 minutes to bake. And they are really wonderful. So, but you can get them with steak and potato. You can get them as a chicken pot pie, chicken and mushroom, or vegetarian. And Bill, the one in the middle is gluten-free. And instead of using crust like this for your gluten-free food, they use mashed potatoes. And so that's a pretty cool version of a gluten-free meat pie, but they're really good. And so forth. So I had a lot of fun with putting all the foods and wines together. There's their desserts are very different. Their most favorite dessert is called a Tim Tam. And I have Tim Tams that I left at home. I think maybe unconsciously I left at home, but we have some other desserts here and having fun. So I'm going to open it up to any questions you might have.
That came in on the chat.
What's that?
We have a question that came in on the chat from Tron.
Okay.
Ruth and I accidentally purchased the stump jump. Thoughts on that particular one?
GSM?
On the stump jump.
Okay,
GSM.
so GSM stands for Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. And it's 3 grapes that are very popular in southern France. And I really love GSM wines, but they're different, but they're Southern Rhone wines. And so, yeah, you can get the stump jump in a variety of different ways, but the GSM is great. I hope you're enjoying that, but also not expensive compared to the French versions of them. Now, the most elaborate GSM is actually called Châteauneuf du Pape, which means the castle of the Pope. And so when the papacy moved from Italy to France for, I don't know, a couple centuries, in southern France, the Pope had wines that were made for him. They can have up to 13 grapes, but the main grapes in them are Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre. So that's probably a good buy. I haven't seen that on the market around here, but I know that that exists. Okay.
There's other questions.
Okay, another question? What's the next question?
How do we know if we're supposed to be shaking our wine? Do they list nitrogen on the label? Shake before drinking.
The only wines that I know of that need to be shaken are Molly Duker wines, and all of the Molly Duker wines, from the least expensive to the $250 velvet glove, still needs to be shaken. But I don't think you'll see that. I have not seen that on any wines other than the Molly Duker wines where you do the Molly Duker shake. What I have found though is all wines benefit from aeration. And so when I showed Luke my latte foam thing, he was just cracking up. But I've now used that in other Cabernets where I may not have time to, or I don't have a decanter with me. So if you don't have a decanter and you don't, there's only so much swirling you can do in the world. So I can swirl this really pretty well, but I can also foam it really fast. And so at first I thought it was kind of an obtrusive way to treat a wine, but it works really well. It really does. And I've actually shared that with some folks. And we had just the most wonderful tasting at Delmonico's in New York City, private tasting with Molly Duker. And Luke said, "Are you going to bring out that swirly stick?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And we had a lot of fun. So we had it shaken, non-shaken, and latte foamed, and it was just so much fun.
Christine had asked earlier, Jerry, should we try the wine we made in our residency class?
Who's that? Christine's asked that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You might want to repeat it because they probably didn't.
Okay. Christine Chukajian, who was one of our residents a few years back. One of the things I used to do with the residents is we made our own residency class wine. And I'd get the grapes in and we'd go down and we would ferment them and then we'd have a label making contest. And so the resident that came up with the best label got to put their label on the wine. And then for graduation, they got the wine. Well, Christine, I have that wine that you made still in my cellar. I keep it for art purposes, but not for wine purposes. There was one wine, Message to Garcia wine that was made, and it was a Riesling. So that wine is still good. You know, Riesling wines or sweeter wines will hold up pretty well. But if you're trying to make a homemade Pinot, good luck. But I love doing that project with the residents because it was a group project that we would start in the fall and it would be late spring before we could bottle it. And then we would all go down there with the winning label and we would bottle it and label it and then they would get the wine for graduation. So it was lots of fun. That was one of the enjoyable side things that you can do in a residency. I don't think that's a requirement to be a winemaker, but I love when Brian Petoskey, who was one of our former residents, called me up to tell me that he won a wine contest of picking expensive wines versus cheap wines. And he won. And I said, well, Brian, I'm so proud of you for winning that. And he attributed his knowledge and skills, of course, to me. And I said, I'm more proud of that than the fact that you were named the University of Pittsburgh Teacher of the Year. I said, that I would expect, but for you to win a wine contest was unexpected, and I love that. So, yeah, I think all of our former residents know me pretty well for wine tasting, and the new ones, hopefully, well, as well. Hope you're enjoying the evening, and just a lot of fun. Any other questions out there?
Lee Fritz was saying that they'd like a bourbon tasting next in spite of the bottle before you had said it.
Okay. Well, we actually, for the OSU alumni last year, we did a tasting at High Banks, which is a very good distillery here in Columbus. Matter of fact, one of their wines has won the Whiskey of the Year award. So I love going down there, and we did a really fun event here in Columbus. It wasn't virtual though, but we did do a really wonderful tasting there. Dean Mann, our former dean, turns out he really loves whiskey, and I was sitting next to him and found he's a lot more fun when he's had some whiskey. He's on sabbatical somewhere now. So he's retired, I can say that now. But yeah, he's a lot more fun with some whiskey. And I think everybody's a lot more fun with a little bit of wine. Okay. What other questions might you have? Go ahead and ask me now because later I charge. This is your free opportunity. Anything wine related. It doesn't even have to be Australian.
Any questions?
Questions for you guys? When's the next one?
What were some of your favorites? What did you like about one versus another?
The blend was my favorite.
What's that?
The blend was my favorite.
The 19 crimes red blend?
Or no, that.
Oh, Penfolds. Okay. So I have a favorite for Penfolds here. Who else?
They like the white too.
Yeah.
You like the whites? Which one? The Oyster Bay White. Okay. Well, they don't sell 2 billion bottles of it because people hate it.
Very good.
Yeah, yeah. Popularity is one thing. What? Tell me some of the favorite wines that we have out in the audience. What's that?
Is it like the green?
Mike would like me to open a bottle of Grange or a bottle of Velvet Glove. I do have all these wines from Molly Duker from the club. So if you'd like to try one of those, I'm okay with that. With not all of them, but some. But yeah, I'd like you to. So the blue-eyed boy was named after Luke, who was on tonight. So he's the blue-eyed boy. So it is. If you want, I can open up. I do have to shake it, but it is a wonderful wine. So what they describe in Australia is it's called palate weight, more or less. So as you taste wines at different levels, they have different palate weights, and it's how it feels from the tip of your tongue to the back of your palate. So the light, now, the way I describe this is kind of like if you're tasting skim milk, 2%, whole milk, and cream, a half and half and cream. Those are the different levels. And so wine can have that kind of weight as well. And so that's what they actually do. Oh, the lamb, yes. Yeah, I have wasabi crusted rack of lamb here. And you're handing me one. Thank you. Put it on top of the pie. Yeah. And so it's I don't know what it is, but this wasabi crusted lamb is wonderful with Shiraz.
Gary,
Yes.
this is North Carolina showing here, and we want your lamb, and we want to come visit, and we want.
I think we're not in the picture.
So
Yeah.
we're really
Now, you
excited.
know, when I did these for COSHP, we did have all the food too. So I love the fact that all of you guys can tune in. I'm sad that you don't get all the food that goes with it. But at any rate, you'll appreciate the fact that the residents are loving this, and it's great to see you from North Carolina, Lee. Thank you so much. Good to see you all. But I think, what was I saying? So the blue-eyed boy, I'm going to open up here as a habit, but that was actually named after Luke. And like I said, he mentioned Holly's his sister, who's just delightful. And the wine named after her is called the Giggle Pot, because when she was like 4 years old, that's all she did was giggle. So her mom named the wine after her, which I thought was really cute. All right. I like your setup there, and Lee, in the room and all your bottles there. Did you have trouble getting the wines, or were you able to find them pretty easily?
Sorry, running to the unmute. So Trader Joe's was a huge win for a lot of the wines, but a couple of them I couldn't find, so I had to go to Total Wine. Almost ordered online, but we ended up finding them okay.
Okay, well, that's great. I heard a couple people. Now, this was funny. One of our alumni said he couldn't find the wines. So instead, he invited me to come to Tucson, Arizona to do the wine tasting there in person. So I'm up for that. I do things like that. So that's great when we can do that. Yeah. So is our dean on right now? Aaron, weren't we going to ask the dean to say a few words of greetings for us?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that now?
Deanna? Doc, if you want to.
All right. Yes, thanks, Aaron. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you, Jerry, for leading us through this tasting and for actually inviting your buddy from Australia to join us. That was probably the best part of the whole night, is to hear his insightful information about the wines of Australia. So, Dr. Deanna Kretz, she is our new dean. She is the 9th dean from the College of Pharmacy, and she is a 1985 graduate of the College of Pharmacy. And it's my honor to introduce her. And Deanna Kretz, please welcome everyone, or say whatever you'd like to. Thank you.
What's up, Bob? We'll find a paper, kids' schools.
Deanna, something might have just popped up on your screen asking you to unmute. See if that works.
Okay, finally I'm unmuted. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see everybody here. I think hold on a minute, my battery's gonna die in a second. I'm here, I can't see it. Can you put that in? I'm here with my classmate, Julie Johnson, and our husbands. Thank you so much to the Alumni Society for planning this evening. It was great fun. Jerry, it was really fun to learn all of that about all these wines. We're really bummed we didn't get the Molly Duker, but we'll do that next time. And so maybe we can have a private tasting with you on.
There we
He's,
go.
he's on his way back. Here he comes.
Sorry,
I think we lost Deanna.
You were Molly Duker shaking.
I was Molly Duker shaking. For the folks here live, they get a treat. This is called the Blue-Eyed Boy from Molly Duker, and the Blue-Eyed Boy is actually Luke Marquis. So his mom and dad named the wine after him, and I have that. So our after party special wine will be the Blue-Eyed Boy. It's not usually in most people's budget, so we're going to try that next. Okay, and thanks, thanks, Dean, for coming on. I love the fact that you're so social and you get involved in all of the alumni events. So thank you again.
Great, thank you, Jerry. So thanks everyone for attending tonight. You will receive a copy of the recording and a survey in the coming days. Please be sure to fill it out. And also we hope that many of you will get involved in our Alumni Society. Have a wonderful evening and thanks for joining us. Just a reminder, if you probably by the mid to end of next week, if you want to get some of the non-stemmed wine glasses that have the College of Pharmacy Alumni Society logo on them, please let Erin know. She has about 8 left, but we can order more as needed. So thank you all for attending, and we hope you all had a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Erin, thank you for a wonderful job coordinating it. Everything worked out great, I think.
Jerry, thank you. This was awesome.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Doc.
Good night, all.
All right.
Message me if you want me to come to your house and do this. Okay. Good night. Bye.
I made it back.
Oh, wait, hold it. Dennis House, hold it. Do the wait. Put your H up. Wait, the next person needs to be an I. You're an H. Oh, it's backwards. Okay, hold on. I love it. I love it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Deanna.
Sorry,
You're
battery
good.
died at the wrong time.
It's happened to me. You're good. You're good. Have a good night.
That was fun. Thanks, Erin.
Yep. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.